Hello everyone, welcome back to another informative video. In this video we are going to talk a little bit more about greenhouse, but in this video we are going to talk about measurements of the greenhouse and how to build it. So that diagram you are seeing behind there, we are going to talk a little about it. So let's go. Right, so this is basically a simple representation of a greenhouse structure. So let us get some things into perspective. So this is basically a 2000 square feet greenhouse. So it is 100 in length by 20 in width. Please also bear in mind that this greenhouse is not drawn to scale, right? So this is a design that is commonly used in the Caribbean, right? However, there are many designs out there that are used across the world. This is actually what I would say a gable roof, but it has a vent in it, right? But you find that especially in Jamaica, the farmers building treated lumber greenhouses, they don't bother with the vent here. They just make a solid gable roof without any vent. But I always recommend putting in a vent because they are basically depending on passive ventilation, and the vent area would be additional benefit in terms of airflow and getting rid of hot air and so on. So of course this video is meant to give you some measurements and in terms of how many pieces of lumber you'll need. Of course I'm going to go through, and while I'm going through I'll basically be adding up as well. So it's not like I have the numbers already written down to just say, okay, then you'll need this, that. I'm just going to go through with you and show you the different components so that you can understand what I'm talking about. And then now, what that will do is that if you have a different design that you want to use, then you will actually know there would be variations basically. So remember, it's not drawn to scale. So let us talk about the different areas of this structure. So this is obviously your side wall, right? The side of the greenhouse. This part here is basically the roof. So this is one half of the roof, and this over here, right here, is another half. This here that is labeled 1 is basically the vent area, right? Of course this is the width side. Now of course you have the land, you are ready to lay down the put the post into the holes. So the size of the depth of the hole, I would say 1.5 to 2 feet. If you're on rocky land, try and go at least 1.5 feet, and then use cement and sand to reinforce the post. If you're on if you have a land that has good soil that you can dig to 2 feet, then go ahead and do that, and then use soil and stone to reinforce the post, or you could use cement if you choose to, right? Now these and remember, we are going to discuss this one, like one side. So this length side, this width side, and this roof side. So everything we do with this, you do on the next side. So all the numbers of posts we get for this side, you basically multiply them by 2, right? Now obviously you are going to use 2 different set of sizes of posts. You are going to use 4x4 and you are going to use 2x4. Now which section you'll use 4x4? And you'll use 4x4 to do the posts, all the posts, the ones going up in the air, from the ground going up in the air. Those are your posts. So you're going to use 4x4. Now on the sides, remember this is a 2000 square feet, 100 by 20. Now on the sides, you want to use and as I said, we are going down 2 feet deep on this. So we are going to use a 14 feet 4x4 in height, a 14 feet in height 4x4 post. So what that will do is 2 feet will go into the ground, and then I'm going to have 12 feet going up upright, right? And of course, as I said, we are going 10 feet to the gutter. This is basically the gutter or the gable of the roof, right? We are going 10 feet, but you find that you can go higher than 10 feet if you want, and that is going to be dependent on the length 4x4 that is available to you, because in some areas you'll have a 4x4, you can find a 17 feet in height 4x4, and in some areas you can find less. So it depends, but the higher you can go, the better it is. So this greenhouse is basically a 17 feet in height greenhouse. So the middle post is basically what will determine the height of your greenhouse, right? This is basically the furthest point on your greenhouse. So this post is basically 17 feet. 2 feet is in the ground, 10 feet from the ground surface to the gable, and then another 5 feet to the end of the roof, right? This area here is your vent area. So for 2,000 square feet, you want to go at least 2 feet in height for a vent area, right? The vent area, this is, so the area right here is 2 feet, and down here, right, from the gable to the start of the first roof at the start of the vent area is basically 3 feet, right? So as I said, these posts would be 4x4 by 14. These middle ones would be 4x4 by 17, and these dotted lines are basically the middle post going down, right? As I said, 2 feet in the ground for all the posts, 2 feet in the ground. So in all, if you should count this 100 feet in length greenhouse, count the amount of posts that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So this side would have 11 posts, right? And on the width now, you will have 1, 2, because remember this middle one is a 17 feet. So you would want these two basically, one in each half. So this post is in the middle of the 20 feet, but you'd want another post in each of the 20 feet sections to further reinforce the greenhouse. So that is basically 11 plus 2. So 11 plus 2 is basically 13. So for the entire greenhouse, you will basically need 26 pieces of 4x4 by 14. But I always like to buy over. So instead of buying 26, I'll basically maybe buy 30 pieces in case any of them spoil. So we are finished with the 4x4 by 14. Right now, let us move into the middle of the greenhouse. Now in the middle of the greenhouse, where you will have the 4x4 by 17, you want to, it's basically going to be the same 11 pieces, right? Because it's consistent in terms of the amount of distance apart that you have these posts. So the distance from this post to this post is basically 10 feet. 10 feet increments going down. 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet, right? So of course in the middle post you'll have 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet. So if you should stand right here and look across like that, all the posts should line up from this end to the next end, and every section be consistently measuring 10 feet, right? So of course, as I said, at the middle post you'll basically buy posts that have a length of 4x4 by 17 feet, right? And that is going to give you the entire height of the greenhouse. As I said, if you can find a 4x4 that is higher, taller than 17 feet, then go ahead. So you will only need 11 pieces of 4x4 by 17. But as I said, I always like to buy more. So instead of 11, I might buy maybe 14 pieces, right? In case any of them spoil. Now that takes care of the post, the post part of it. Now let us move on to the roofing now. Obviously there are many different components of the roofing. Let us talk about them. So this here that you are seeing is basically the rafters, right? And of course you are going to need, looking on the lens side, is the same amount of rafters as the post. So each post would basically contain a rafter, as you can see at the angle there, right? Each post would basically contain a rafter. So going down, you'll basically need 11 rafter, and then for the rafters or the roof, you're going to basically use 2x4, right? So this is 11 2x4 there, and if you look here, these are basically 2x4s also to help to reinforce the roof, right? So that is 11 plus 1, 2, that is 13. And obviously, you will have two more up here, like these two. That's 15, right? And then, of course, for this side of the roof, you will have another 11, right? So 15 plus 11, right? So that is 26 pieces of 2x4. And the 2x4, you can make them to be like 14 feet. Make them to be like 14 feet in length, because you want the 2x4s to basically have an offset, offset, so that you could put a gutter in for the roof, right? So you want to make your 2x4 at least 14 feet in length, right? So so that's 26 pieces of 2x4 for the rafter. Remember, the rafters are these, right? On the roof area, you need 26 pieces of 2x4, right? 2x4 by 14. Now, obviously you see that we have the vent area, right? And basically this perimeter area here going around the structure, these are also 2x4. So this line here, this one here, this the other one that goes there, and then this vent area, right? So obviously this is 100 feet. So if you are going to buy 10 feet pieces of 2x4, you will need it's basically 10. It's basically, let's measure it. It's basically from here to here is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So how many spaces do we have? 1, 2, 3, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you'll need 10 pieces of 2x4 by 10 to run the length of the structure, right? So you'll need 10 here, 10 up here, right? 10 here for the top of the vent area, right? So that's 10, 20, 30, right? And then over on this side of this part of the roof going on the lens side is another 10. So that's 40 pieces. That's 40 pieces of 2x4 by 10 that you'll need to run the lens side. Of course, this side is basically 20 feet in width, right? But you might not be able to find a 20 feet in width 2x4. If you can, that's good. If not, you can basically buy 12 feet, right? You can basically buy 12 feet. So if you are going to buy 12 feet, you'll need 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'll need 4 pieces of 2x4 by 12 to do this cross piece, right? As I said, you will need 40 pieces of 2x4 by 10 to do these length pieces, right? What else? What else do we have to add in? Oh, of course, this here that we just spoke about in terms of buying the 12 feet, this is basically going to be consistent on all the middle posts. So the cross piece that goes here, you'll have another cross piece on this one, from here to over there like that. You'll have another cross piece on this one, and on this one, this one, this one. So you will basically have to buy actually more than 4 2x4 by 12, right? So you will have to basically multiply. So this is 2 pieces, so you'll have to multiply. I remember it's 11 middle posts, right? So you'll have to multiply 11 by 2, which is 22. So you'll need 22 pieces of 2x4 by 12 to do the middle, the cross pieces on all the middle posts, right? Which would look like this from this end to this end, right? It would be the same on here on all these posts going down, right? So as I said, you will need 22 pieces of 2x4 by 12 to do those cross pieces. And yeah, that's it basically. I think I have covered all the different pieces of lumber. And yes, as I said, some farmers basically will leave out the vent area. If obviously if you leave out the vent area, you would need um this extra um structure, these extra 2x4s, because it's going to be like a solid gable roof with no vent, right? So right, that is it with the measurements, right? All you have to do is just watch the video and go through and write down the various amounts of the different pieces that I spoke about. And of course, if you have any questions, any comments about this building the structure, you can always put them in the comments area, right? I hope it wasn't too complicated. I'm not a professional builder, but I've helped to build these before, and I've seen them being built all the time. So as I said, these measurements are the pieces of different numbers that I gave you is basically to build a 2,000 square feet greenhouse with a measurement of 100 in length by 20 in width, right? Obviously, if you change the measurement, you'll basically have to change the amount that you buy, amount of different pieces of lumber that you buy, right? And this all you have to do, as I said, is just use this as a blueprint. And if you want to build a 4,000 square feet or whatever it is, you'll know, because you know the different components of the greenhouse, right? And this is consistent. Well, this holds true for if you are using round stick too. And round stick, as you know, is those that you would go to the bushes and just cut without any form of post processing or anything like that. So yeah, and of course you'll basically use pieces of boards that you have left over to put a door. You can use a lot of farmers just put a door here, but what I recommend is putting what we call a pre-chamber here. So a pre-chamber is basically maybe like a 4x4 here that you will walk into before you enter the greenhouse. So you'll basically apply like a double door system. So when you open the door to go in the pre-chamber, this one that is on the greenhouse is closed. So when you come through that pre-chamber door, you close that door, then you open the one that is on the greenhouse to go inside the greenhouse, then you close it. So I always recommend making a pre-chamber, and that is a little small building that you go into before you enter the greenhouse. And of course, the scraps of boards that you have left over will be enough to build that, right? And then of course on the sides you'll basically put your antiviral nets. In the Caribbean and Jamaica especially, we have a lot of farmers using 48 to 50% shade cloth, black shade cloth, but that of course will block out some insects. You have the antiviral netting, which is 70%, that will basically block out more insects, but then now you trade off with having less airflow in the greenhouse, right? So that is why I always stress putting in the vent, because using the antiviral netting would be best, because it protects you against more insects than using the 48 or 50% black shade cloth on the sides. Now on the roof, that is where you're going to buy the greenhouse UV plastic. You could buy a 3mm plastic, or you could buy a 6mm. Of course, a 6mm plastic would block out more sunlight. So yeah, so it depends on where you are located in the world. If sunlight is a problem, then you don't want to use a 6mm. You want to use a 3mm that will let in out more sunlight. But like in the Caribbean, the tropics, we can use a 6mm plastic because its temperature is very high. The sun is radiation coming in is very high, and so on. The sun is hot, so we can use a 6mm plastic to put on the roof. And in the vent area, you can basically use, you could use the same antiviral netting that you use on the side, or if you choose to use the shade cloth, whichever one you choose, you just put back that material in the vent area. And on the side here in the gable area, you can basically put the antiviral netting there, or you can put the plastic there if you choose to. Putting the antiviral netting there would mean more ventilation for you, and so on. But you could use plastic or the antiviral netting or the shade cloth, whichever one, on this section here, right? And that's it. I think that's it in terms of setting up your greenhouse, right? As I said, if you have any questions, any comments, please put them in the comments area, and please remember to subscribe to the channel. Bye bye.